So today let's talk about conditional list comprehension. Already you know that list comprehension produces a second list. For instance, we can have the squares of this list. SQ is equal to A for A in X, right? A times A for A in X. So you already know, A times A for A in X. You already know about this. Produces the squares of this original list. So what it means is going to apply this function A times A for all the elements in X. So this you already know. So if I print out SQ, we can have the correct result here, as you can see. Now, what if we want to print out the squares of numbers that are less than or equal to 5? So the syntax is also simple. I'll simply append in the end of this list and say if A is less than or equal to 5. Right? So this is also very simple, as you can see. So at this point, we expect it to give us the squares of numbers from 1 to 5. So if I run it now, you can see that it gave us numbers of the squares from 1 to 5. What if we want to now print out the squares of numbers from 1 to 5, but we want to double the numbers from 6 to 10? So the temptation will be for us to say here, we can say else, we can now say A plus A. This kind of looks a bit intuitive, but this is not how to do it. Because here is a situation where you might want to perform some operations based on a criteria on the list. In this case, we want to square half of the items that are less than 5, less than or equal to 5, and then double all the items that are greater than 5. Now the syntax says that you need to put the else part at the beginning of the list. So let me just write it as a second list comprehension here. SQ2 is equal to, in this case, you are going to say A plus A if, you see, so A plus A. So basically, you are going to say A plus A if A is greater than 5, and then put an else statement A times A for A in X. So let me see if I got it correctly. So let's see exactly what is happening here. If you look at this place, the second part of this list says A times A for A in X. So A times A for A in X. So in this case, we also have A times A for A in X if A is less than or equal to 5, because in this second case, we have A plus A. This operation is carried out if A is greater than 5. Else, we have a second operation carried out for the rest of the list. So this actually is the else part of it. So we say A plus A if A is greater than 5. This is the operation that's going to be performed. Else, we are now going to do list comprehension for the rest of the list. I hope this makes a bit of sense to you. So I'm going to print out SQ2 and let's see what goes. So you can see that, all right, yeah, I think I'm on track. So this SQ creates the confusion here. So I'm going to just run this code again. So you can see that we have exactly what we need right here. So the idea is that you are going to specify one operation for an if statement. In this case, you have two operations you want to perform. So the else part of it that's going to execute for the remaining part of the list comprehension is going to be before the else. So in this case, we are going to be summing the element if A is greater than or equal to 5. That is fine. Then for elements that doesn't meet this criteria, we now do the normal list comprehension in this case. So that's basically how the else works in list comprehension. I'm going to take one more example. Let's say we have the word apple. Let's say we have x is equal to apple. So let's say we want to replace the consonant in this word apple with an asterisk. So we want something like this. We want to replace it with A star 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 E. So this is exactly what we need. So what we want here at this point is to use list comprehension. I'm going to say results is equal to, in this case, we are going to say A for A in X. Okay, now we have two X here, so I'm going to call this apple. A for A in apple. Okay, and we are now going to say if A in all the, so we are replacing the consonants, so we can say if A not in the list of consonants A, E, I, O, U. All right, so exactly what is happening here, we are saying that for each item here, if A not in vowel, we are printing it out, okay? But what we want is to actually replace the consonants in this case. So to solve this challenge, to solve this, I'm going to say RES is equal to A if A in A, E, I, O, U. So we are going to take A, if A is in this, is in this place, okay, else we are simply going to replace with star. Else we are going to say star for A in apple, okay. All right, so let's understand exactly what is happening out here. So what we are saying is that for the first part, because this A here is the same element that we reference here, so A, if A in is a vowel, that is fine. Else it's not a vowel, we are going to simply replace it with a star, and then we are saying for A in apple. So this kind of takes some time to get your head around it, but remember that what we are saying is this part of the loop is the else part. So this is a normal list comprehension for A in apple, but if A in is a vowel, then we are going to take it, and this, if it's not a vowel, then we are going to simply put a star out there. So what do we expect to get? What we expect to get from this output is A star 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 E. This is exactly what we want to get. So if I print out this list at this point, you can see that it gives us A star 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 E. And this is exactly how to perform conditional list comprehension. Please take some time to get your head around it. And I think I will stop here for this part. And in the next part, we now look at something called double iteration. I'd like to thank you for viewing. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if this has been informative for you. Also leave me a comment to let me know if you have any challenges.